always, we'd like to invite you to just close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Namo Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganganapataye Namo Namaha. Niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya Niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya Niti sakala vigna karadura hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya Niti sakala vigna karadura hamari.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that means community of truth. Essentially a spiritual community where two or more people who are on the path of awakening and transformation of consciousness, the flowering of the heart in oneness with God, come together to share their journeys, their presence, their energy, their insights. And so, here's our Satsang. The Flowering Heart Satsang is informal. There's no formal membership. We include people from all over the world in these satsangs who have different spiritual teachers and teachings from different spiritual backgrounds. What we have in common is the journey of awakening consciousness and transformation that we share. So, welcome. We're glad you're here. The world needs to shift swiftly. Nobody needs convincing that humanity has created a mess. A global culture that's actually quite ancient, rooted in competition, conflict, and war. It's always been that way in recorded human history. But it's beginning to give way to the birth of a new world rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. Right now it's happening one person at a time. But so many people's hearts have awakened to oneness with the divine source, with one another, with the universe, that there's never been anything like this before. It's unstoppable. We believe that when we reach a certain number, a critical mass, that one day the entire collective consciousness of humanity will shift. And this new world civilization of harmony, cooperation, and peace will begin to manifest. Why are we so confident? Well, because we're all one. Actually, humanity isn't 8 billion different consciousnesses. It is one consciousness expressing itself through 8 billion quirky human forms. The entire universe, in fact, is the manifestation of one universal consciousness. One love, one light, and it manifests through all the myriad forms of existence in the universe. When we begin to awaken, the veil starts to fall away that made us feel like we were separate individuals with a beginning and an end, and we begin to experience ourselves more and more as participants, embodiments of that one universal consciousness. So when we're talking about humanity, we're not 8 billion people, we're like one humanity expressing in 8 billion forms. So eventually, the collective consciousness itself will shift when enough individuals are awakened and their hearts begin to flower. So that's what we're doing. And many others around the world are doing the same work. And we celebrate all of them. Here we share something special. It's a direct transmission of divine awakened consciousness, light, grace, and love that catalyzes in the receiver that process of awakening, that process of transformation. We call it the Flowering Heart Blessing. In Sanskrit it would be Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha. Whatever you call it, it's a gift of grace directly from the divine source. It catalyzes transformation in the receiver. When the divine shared this with us about 9 years ago, we're not strangers to energy transmissions or different forms of blessing. We've been doing it for decades. But this one, the divine said, give it away, it's free. Oh, wow. And if people are interested in being vessels, instruments through which this blessing flows, if they've received it once, they're initiated. All they need to do is invite me to pour it through them. So that's you, because you're soaking in it right now. So just invite the divine to pour the blessing through. You don't need to know how to do it or understand anything about it except it feels good, it's divine, it's really nice. Pour it through me and hold it in tension for this blessing to flood everyone who joins this satsang tonight and everyone who watches the video recording of this satsang at any time in the future. For the blessing is spirit, and spirit is not bounded by time or space. It's always now, and it's always here. So even if you watch this video or you're watching it 10 years from when we made it, it's still here and now, isn't it? And you'll feel the same presence, the same blessing that we did. I don't think we have any announcements.
Oh, if you do want to know more about the blessing, there's a 36-minute video on our website, which is floweringheart.org, O-R-G.
Right there on the home page and several other places throughout the website, there are links to this 36-minute brief but clear explanation of what the Flowering Heart Blessing is, and there's a guided meditation to accept the initiation and to invite the divine to pour through you. So if you don't have a blessing group where you live, how about starting one? Just turn your computer on, go to our website, hit play. You can even download the video. We give it away, you can have it. 36 minutes later, whoever watched it with you will definitely be ready to start sharing blessings. And we're always excited to hear about it, so if you do that, let us know. What else? Give us a like or a love. If you're on Facebook Live, a heart or a thumbs up. Some people pick other emojis, that's just fine. If you give us a like or a love, we go in at the end and we see your name, and we just rejoice that you were with us, and we send you a little extra blessing and hug. So please do that. We like to open it after the introduction and the silent meditation that we've already just been through to questions and answers about the spiritual journey. Any area of spirituality or the journey where you'd like more insight, more clarity, please ask, especially if it has to do with your own journey and things you're experiencing, because while each of our journeys are unique, they parallel one another, and we go through similar challenges along the way. So when you ask your questions, it's helping everybody else. And it seems to move the divine to pour out inspiration through me and Suzanne and through you as well. So while you're asking inside that still small voice, what you might ask that would inspire and catalyze the conversation tonight, I like to share some quotes. These come from a website called inspiringquotes.com. It's a group of authors that write brief but timely articles about relevant themes, and then share quotes that they've gathered together from illumined and influential people throughout history that shed light on that subject. Tonight, the article and the quotes that we're going to be sharing are 16 quotes about overcoming fear. And the author of this little article is Tony Donnell. Tony's an English writer of nonfiction and fiction living on the edge of the Amazon jungle, one of our favorite places on earth. Love South America, love the Amazon, haven't been there in too long. But Tony hangs out there and sends us these delightful little stories, articles. So here's what he has to say about fear. Our fears can be divided into two categories: innate and learned. Innate fear requires no prior life experience, though there's some debate as to which fears are truly instinctive. Some studies suggest that we are born with only two innate fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds, while others suggest we might also be born with an innate fear of creatures such as spiders and snakes. Learned fears are those fears we obtain through directly experiencing a threat or through social means, such as verbal warnings or observing others. We don't have an innate fear of dogs, but if a child is bitten by a dog, they may carry that learned fear for years, if not forever. And while most of us have never had a fearful encounter with a shark, and possibly haven't even seen one, we often grow up thinking that sharks are dangerous because that's what people say, or because we watched Jaws. Fear itself, whether innate or learned, is not necessarily a bad thing. Fear is a survival mechanism and has helped keep humans safe since we first walked the earth. It is part of our evolution. Fight or flight is better than doing nothing, and far better than paralysis in a dangerous situation. At the same time, however, fear can hold us back or stop us from achieving our goals. Sometimes it's a barrier to happiness. When that happens, we must try to overcome our fears and find courage. It may not be easy, but help is on hand. Over the centuries, many famous figures have given us their sage advice about how to conquer the fears that stand in our way. So here are 16 quotes on this subject. Fear is the main source of superstition and one of the main sources of cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. Bertrand Russell. If you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. William Shakespeare. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. Dale Carnegie. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Except a creature be part coward, it is not a compliment to say it is brave. It is merely a loose misapplication of the word. Mark Twain. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Marie Curie. I've learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. Never let the fear of striking out get in your way. Babe Ruth. Expose yourself to your deepest fear. After that, fear has no power, and fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes. You're free. Jim Morrison. Don't fear failure. Not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. Bruce Lee. Each of us must confront our own fears, must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives. To experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. Judy Blume. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Nelson Mandela. What we need to do is say, what's the smallest, tiniest thing that I can master? And what's the scariest thing I can do in front of the smallest number of people that can teach me how to dance with the fear? Once we get good at that, we just realize that it's not fatal. Seth Godin. Are you paralyzed with fear? That's a good sign. Fear's good, like self-doubt. Fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. Remember our rule of thumb. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. Stephen Pressfield. The scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things can only get better. Stephen King. Yeah. Those were some great quotes. What was that first one? Fear's the main source of superstition and one of the main sources of cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. I love that from Bertrand Russell. Those of you who have studied the Bible might remember a verse in the Hebrew Scriptures that says, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. He says, conquering fear is the beginning of wisdom. I would say conquering the fear of God. Why does then the Scripture say the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom? Because it's a mistranslation. The word translated fear should be reverential awe. Reverence and awe of God is the beginning of wisdom. That makes sense. Okay. I'm seeing some questions. Okay, Jairus Castaneda writes, how about cancer? Where does it stand in regards to everything? I don't even know what that question is. I'm not sure what you're asking. Cancer doesn't stand, and I'm not sure. Cancer is a devastating disease that's becoming more and more prevalent in young people and people of all ages. And there are many new forms of it. Where does it stand in regards to everything? I can't answer that because that's not a very specific question, but I can say that it's because we have been living out of harmony with the Tao, out of harmony with nature. And when we're living in great disharmony with nature, our genetic code starts to get tweaked and damaged, and the result can be cancer. It's a warning shot for humanity, I think, to overcome cancer is perfectly doable, even in stage 4, even like moments before death. I've known of people that have had miracles of recovery. But in general, there's detoxing the body, alkalizing the system,
work on your relationship with the divine presence,
Well,
work on your own inner wounds and emotional turmoil.
well, the spiritual work of, why you're in this situation, what will you do if you recover, and working on the spiritual connection with the cancer. But there was a fourth one there. But it certainly has to do with a change of diet and detoxing your body and alkalizing your system, and then dealing with the spiritual side of it. And we know many people that have overcome it. We also know many people that haven't, sadly. And it isn't like, what did the individual do wrong? We're part of a collective mix, a stew, if you will, where the diet, the foodstuffs that we're getting, even grains that people think are healthy, are genetically modified and tainted and out of harmony with nature. And nature is basically saying to humanity, okay, kids, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. Oh, GMOs are fine. Oh, all the chemicals we put in our bodies, fine. Oh, there's no problem with the climate. There's no toxicity to the atmosphere. Blah, blah, blah. So nature is simply saying, okay, I guess we're going to do it the hard way. Now, we could begin to turn that around. There are more and more of us that would like to. And yeah, cancer has been a great thief of life. But I will say that I know of numerous people who cried out to the divine presence and were miraculously healed. I mean, raised up off their deathbed. I know a lady who was consumed with cancer over 50 years ago. She was down to like, I don't know, under 100 pounds, a fever of way over 100, I think about 105. She was in her deathbed and had anywhere from minutes to a few days, just totally emaciated, consumed by cancer. And a man came in who understood the power of divine healing and had that kind of a relationship with the divine. And he laid his hands on her, and she was healed and rose up off her deathbed, and she's still alive. That was over 50 years ago. She's like 90 now. And healing grace has continued to flow through her. Many people have received healings through her. And in this case, it wasn't even her faith. She had not even converted to a relationship with God at that moment. She did. But this man had tremendous faith, and he went around laying hands on the sick. And I met him and traveled a little with him and spent time with him, and it had a big effect on my life too. So why does God not always respond to prayers for healing of terminal diseases? I don't know. There are different circumstances. In one place in the Bible it says, people don't lay it to heart that when the righteous die prematurely, they may be getting delivered from something really horrendous that's just right down the road for them. The divine knows all that. So the timing of our departure is a mystery. I personally believe it can be free from disease and pain. And I've seen that. And that's my plan. Of course, I hear man plans and God laughs. So, okay. So, let's see. More writes, hello. Why when I'm meditating, external sounds are felt in the chest, in my heart? Well, that's very nice. It's because in meditation, I'm guessing, that your perceptive apparatus, that when our eyes are open and we're using the mind a lot, is functioning a lot up in the head. When we go into meditation, just when you close your eyes, half that mental world disappears. And when you relax and your breathing slows down, your consciousness begins to sink into the heart. And so there you are in your heart, and you're feeling sound. I like that. You're feeling it in your heart. And probably everything else that comes your way in meditation, unless it's trying to pull you out and back into your mind or into outer awareness, whatever comes our way in meditation, we feel it in the heart. And if we don't resist it, it causes no suffering. And if we just let it go, whatever arises, just feel it and let it go, it just gets deeper and deeper and more lovely. Tristan, my question is my question is, I'm having trouble reading it. My question is, can O access Jesus' healing abilities? Is this possible to have Jesus cities? I think I get the question. How can we access Jesus' healing abilities? And is it possible to have Jesus cities? Cities are a Sanskrit term for the special powers that are manifested through yoga. in yogis. Jesus, on the other hand, said that what manifested through him was the Father, the Heavenly Father working through him. So, if you want to access Jesus' healing abilities, then cultivate a relationship with the Heavenly Father or the Divine Mother, with the Divine Source, however you understand and relate to that. If you're specifically interested in Jesus' healing abilities, the way they flowed through him, he gives all kinds of instructions. The Gospels of the New Testament are filled with instructions. He said, if you believe in me, the same miracles that I do will you do also, and greater works than these you will do, because I go to my Father. And he gives so much instruction on how to do that. The prayer of faith. What things soever you desire. Healing. When you pray, believe you have received it, and you will have it. Jesus said, if you believe, you will lay hands upon the sick, and they will recover in the divine name. And just, there's so many more teachings. Are there any sick among you? Call for the elders of the spiritual community and have them anoint you with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith, which as I just told you, when you pray, believe you've received it and you'll have it. The prayer of faith will save or heal the sick, and God will raise them up. I mean, it's all through the Christian scriptures because Christ used healing as one of the major introductions to the kingdom of God for people. It was one of the major ways that he sounded the trumpet to get people's attention. Oh, you're hurting? Be healed. Oh, you're hungry? Let's turn let's transform some things into food for you. So he manifested a lot of physical miracles. He walked on water, etc., etc. He turned water into wine. He multiplied the loaves and the fishes. There were many such miracles, but by and far, the most frequent miracles through his ministry were healing. And he did that to show that the divine presence is merciful and compassionate and loving, because everybody thought he was a merciless judge, just waiting for you to die and keeping a list of your sins to mete out after-death punishments. And Jesus said, that's ridiculous. When he came out of the desert, he said, wake up. The kingdom of God is right here, right now. Let me show you. And he just began healing everybody. And it says whole multitudes came to him, and he healed them all. There weren't just a few that he said, well, for you, the sickness is going to teach you something. We're going to let you hang on to that. He healed them all. And he said to his disciples, if you have seen me, you've seen the Father. And the religious people wanted to execute him immediately. What he was saying, what he meant, wasn't that God had a beard and wore sandals. What he meant was, when you've seen me, when you've really seen me, my true essence, the divine love, when you've seen the way that I forgive, the mercy and the gentleness and the healing, compassion that flows through me, you've seen the Father. That's what the Father's like. He said, because I can't do any of this stuff myself. He did. He said that. I can't do any of this by myself. It's the Father in me, the Father working through me. So healing was one of the big advertisements of what God is really like. More, how did each of you know that the other was your partner? Good question. It dawns on some people very quickly, although love at first sight can often be misleading. I'll just say that. But I read a quote from Rumi last week, which I don't have up now, where he said that you don't find your partner, you don't find true love, it's in you all the time. It's like when you discover your true partner, there's just a knowing in the heart. And Rumi says that's not something that you look for and find, it just happens. And he says, so what you can do is examine yourself and discover and work on all the barriers that you have erected against love in your heart. And if you do that, you'll find it. But how did each of you know? Well, Suzanne's laugh. Just knew. Wow, that laugh. That's just liquid sunshine, you know?
It was Michael's energy.
So there are different things that clue us in, but you can't just go by somebody's smile or somebody's energy. There's a deep knowing in the heart. And it's good to take your time. People can be swept away with a certain enthusiasm in a new relationship. And, oh, I found my soulmate, I'm just certain it's you, only to have it turn into a crash and burn, wreck down the road. So take your time. There are so many stories, though, of people just knowing. They just recognize the being of that other person. Jaira says, these quotes are so empowering. Wow, incredible. Yeah, sure enough. So, are there any other questions before we move on? Let me check over here. Alrighty. Well then, you could close your eyes. Just take a few deep, relaxed breaths. Relax. And invoke the divine presence in your heart. What does that mean? Welcome. Invite the divine presence who dwells within you to flood your being with its presence. The divine presence is just waiting for your invitation. The divine can be very gentle that way. So invoke, invite, welcome. The divine presence dwelling within you is the fullness of the Godhead. I don't know how to explain it. The entire universe dwells inside of you, and the outer world, so-called, is just a reflection of what's inside of you. And it's also inside of me, and inside of Suzanne. Rumi, that same guy that said you don't search for love to find it, you work on removing the barriers to it in your heart. He also said, you're not just a drop of the ocean of God. You are the entire ocean of God in a drop within you. And this divine presence is pure, unconditional love. It loves you exactly as you are, in spite of your faults and your failings. Pure, unconditional love. There's been so much bad religious teaching that God is angry with your failures. I'm with Bruce Lee in the pursuit of a great thing. Aiming too low is the only crime. Of course, if we aim high, there will be failures along the way, and God knows that. Before you do, the divine already knows what you're going to do and loves you freely and wants to free you from suffering. And the main cause of our suffering is the feeling of separation from God. The divine wants to melt the veil of separation in your mind and awaken you to divine union in your heart. Flooding your heart with divine light and love and grace, shining out of your heart into your soul, into your mind and your emotions, to clear and heal them, to flood you with divinely inspired thoughts, divinely inspired emotions and plans. It shines out into your physical body to bring healing of dis-ease. This presence, just relax and receive it, will shine right into those places where you're hurting and dissolve the pain and flood you with joy and peace and light and life. It will shine out even farther then into your relationships to heal them, to bring them into harmony, to make them right. Just drink in the flowering heart blessing that is pouring out to you in this very moment. Just let go and allow God to draw you in to oneness. Receive, consent, let go. The divine will take you into its heart and melt you into oneness. Let go of anxiety and pain. Just let go and drink in the divine presence. Someone or something, just release it to the divine. The divine will draw in and pour out grace and help. Let the divine take the burden for you. Imagine now that we're sitting in a blessing circle together with our eyes closed. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and we invite the divine to pour the flowering heart blessing through all of us to the others in the circle as it flows back to us through all of them. Even more powerful to give blessing than to receive. As it flows through you as a selfless gift to someone else, it heals and transforms you as it flows through you to them. Give, and it will be given back to you. Visualize the earth in the middle of our circle, the beautiful, translucent, living blue planet Let us invite the divine to pour healing out upon the earth, to heal the planet, the waters, the atmosphere, the lands, and all the living things on the face of the earth. We invite the flowering heart blessing to flood the hearts of all 8 billion humans on this planet, to melt away the fear and the anger and the selfishness, and to cause selfless, unconditional, radiant love to arise and begin to shine through every living heart. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You can relax your hands in your lap. And when you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. There's nothing to do but just keep gazing at least one of our eyes. As we dive into the light meditation, Suzanne and I are filled with oceans of divine love and grace and light, and it flows through our entire being to you, especially through our eyes, the windows of the soul. The light shines out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, causing the fires of divine love and the light of awakening to grow brighter and brighter and brighter within you. There's nothing you need to do but sit, relax, receive, and keep looking at our eyes. meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace settles within. Meditating as long as you like, or you could lie down somewhere nearby in Shavasana. That's a yoga pose where you lie comfortably on your back, with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just dissolve in gratitude in the present. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you, and we bow to you. Namaste.